Hey friends, welcome to today's video. Before I even get into the topic of the video, I'm filming at night as you see, and I'm facing the back of the house. I have a fair bit of woods in the house behind me, and there's an owl back there hooing. Do they hoo? Whatever noise they make, it sounds like woo. So I'm hoping that you can pick that up on microphone. We'll see. Gosh, it's a super cool sound and reminds you of how small we are and such a part of this entire sort of ecosystem that we live in. The world itself, nature, our own environment, all of that as one. Okay, sidebar, right? But today's video is about my favorite dupe fragrances. And I can only speak from what I have in my collection. So as we go through the video, I would encourage you, if you have others that I don't mention or that you want to make sure that the audience knows about, to drop it in the comments, tell us the name, the house, and why you like it so much. So long story short, last year, which would have been 2022, I purchased very many dupe fragrances for lots of reasons that I've mentioned in other videos. There have been some really big wins among the dupe fragrances, and there have been some regrets. The regrets are making their way out of the door. I'm either passing them along to friends or family who might be interested in them, or I'm selling them on Mercari. My link is below if you're interested in seeing what is up for sale and if it strikes your fancy. So I am in the ongoing process of curating my collection and narrowing it down to the fragrances that I'm really enjoying the most. And that includes dupe fragrances. There are some dupe fragrances that I really enjoy. My new rules for 2023 and beyond when it comes to keeping and purchasing dupe fragrances is I have to at least like the bottle. There's an exception that I'm going to talk about, or a house exception. You already know what it is that I'm going to talk about in this video. I have to like the bottle. The fragrance has to be very close to the original in a way that the differences aren't really detectable. And it has to cost, it has to cost significantly less than the original. And in some cases, the dupe will last longer or be better performing than the original. So those are kind of the criteria that I'm thinking about there. In other words, there has to be some compelling reason to keep the original versus getting the dupe. So with all of that said, I am going to be sharing with you 20 of the dupe fragrances that have stayed in my collection that I really enjoy and that I would tell others to check out if they're interested in the original version of the fragrance. Let's get to it. So I'm going to start off with maybe my favorite Middle Eastern house, which is Haramain, and their either sister or subsidiary called Orientica. Now, the Orientica fragrances have recently, and I mean recently, like in the past 6 months to a year, made big rounds on social media, especially on Instagram and TikTok. So I got all of these with my own money. None of these were sent to me. So I'm telling you that these are some of my favorite dupes in my entire dupe collection, and maybe in my entire collection as a whole. These are really, really good. I'm going to start off with the beautiful Fleur de Orientica. So this is on the Orientica side of the house. I really do appreciate, and spoiler alert, here's the other one, the bottles on these. I think they're nice. I think they're nice bottles. They're heavy. They're nicely sort of stamped with the names on the side. I like the tops. There's a little bit of artistic flair. Fleur de Orientica. And by the way, because we're talking about dupe fragrances in this video, I'm not going to spend a ton of time sharing what the fragrance is all about, because my assumption is if you're looking for a dupe, you have a sense of what the original fragrance smells like. So I'll say something about it, but not like dwell on it. Fleur de Orientica is a dupe for Fleur Narcotique by Ex Nihilo. This is probably one of the most exquisite floral and fruit fragrances in my collection. I think this has a strong sweet fruit at the top, including a peach note. I'm not a huge fan of peach. It can be a really difficult note for me sometimes. It can come across very plasticky. Here, the peach is really sweet and juicy, along with other fruit and floral notes, a very heavily musky fragrance. And I find it to be just quite elegant, easy to wear, an all year round fragrance. It has enough oomph and base to really make its way through the fall and winter if you like this kind of scent profile for those seasons, and certainly in spring and summer. Has fairly good lasting power and projection, and is just quite smooth and beautiful, very, very similar to Fleur Narcotique for a fraction of the price, which is one of the appealing factors of dupes, of course. And I think you can get this in the $60 to $80 range, depending on where you get it. Right now, I've seen it on Amazon for anywhere from $55 to $60, and on discount sites for a little over between 60 and 75-ish, like in that range. Then you have Melodie de Orientica, which is a dupe for Memo's Sintra. Listen. Ooh. Beautiful. I think it's neroli in the opening, a real sort of citrusy kind of aspect to this, a tart. Well, is it tart? I would call it actually a sweet citrus, excuse me. Again, with musky notes, again, with florals. Smells similar to me to Love Don't Be Shy, except with a citrusy kind of twist. I think there's orange flower in here, if I'm not mistaken, and a really lovely, long lasting fragrance that definitely smells a lot like Sintra. I've had a sample of Sintra and really enjoy that too. And I'm not opposed to Sintra. I think it's beautiful, but I purchased this and I'm very, very happy with this. So I'd love to just stick with this until I get tired of it and want to maybe purchase Sintra. So I would highly recommend this if Sintra from Memo is something that you've been interested in, or you like that kind of neroli centric. Well, it's neroli in the opening. The neroli part calms down, but musky, floral, almost tropical leaning fragrance. I really, really enjoy the Amber Oud line from Al Haramain, and I have three from this line. I'll talk about two here. The third one is fabulous too. So this one is Amber Oud Tobacco Edition, which is a dupe for Tobacco Vanille from Tom Ford. And a really, really good one. I think in the air, no one can tell the difference. So you have a woody, very sort of spicy, fall spicy tobacco and vanilla fragrance that's sexy. It has a lot of allure. It's also cozy at the same time. The spices really land you in the fall and maybe even Christmas into early winter season is when this shines bright. So you're talking about like your fall festival kinds of fragrances where you're around bonfires. If you do that kind of thing, or if you go to fall did I say fall festivals already? You go to wineries in the fall. You go to events where people are enjoying mulled cider. This is perfect for those kinds of occasions, all the way through Thanksgiving and the holiday season and all of that. And this has really good longevity and projection on it as well. So really beautiful dupe for the very expensive Tobacco Vanille from Tom Ford. And then one of my favorite Baccarat Rouge 540 dupes, also from the Amber Oud line from Al Haramain. This is called Rouge, Amber Oud Rouge, and it has the red bottle. So this is a dupe for the Extrait version. Now I have to be honest with you that Baccarat Rouge 540, the original, and the Extrait, the similarities, excuse me, the differences are so subtle to me that I don't know that it's, worth going on and on about. The Extrait is obviously a little bit deeper, a little sultrier, but this is a dead-on dupe for the Extrait if that's the version that you're looking for. It's a little bit thicker, less airy, if you will, than the original. Absolutely delectable, wonderful, airy, woody, sweet, sugary fragrance. I don't know, this is the fragrance that's super hard to describe. But anyway, everyone else has described it to death, so I don't need to do that, except to say that this is great. It's long-lasting, wonderful dupe. As you can see, I haven't used much of it because you don't need to. A few sprays of this will take you throughout the day, and I really like the substantial bottles on these. They're pretty freaking cool to be a dupe. The next one is a one-off from Ministry of Oud, and it's called Oud Satin, Extrait de Parfum, a dupe of Oud Satin Mood from Maison Francis Kurkdjian. I had the Oud Satin Mood dupe from Dua, and it did not survive in this house. I made the grave mistake of overspraying it one day, going down to do some housework with my husband. We were installing some shelves in his office, and he was so repulsed. I've never seen him have that tragic of a reaction to a fragrance that I've worn, but he was literally repulsed to the point we had to keep walking out of the room. So that one did not last long in this house, and it made its way out immediately. This one he doesn't love either, but it's more tolerable. I think it's the powdery aspect of this that kind of turns him off, but I do like the bottle. It's a pretty substantial, weighty bottle. I find the bottle kind of classy, to be honest with you, to be a dupe. And this Ministry of Oud has put out some really nice dupes for other men's fragrances that I haven't tried. I just know that my male counterparts here on YouTube have really enjoyed them. So yes, it's kind of a powder bomb. It's a vanilla, powdery, has some touches of oud and some florals. I think it's a rose note that's here. And I find this particular dupe to be very tolerable. I have to spray lightly. I can't go crazy on it because of the powdery aspects of it. But a little bit of this goes a long way, and I find it to just be a delightful fragrance and a great dupe. I'm moving along to Julianna's Perfumes, and I have two that I'd like to share with you. I will say the dupe for Rouge Malachite, I don't have anymore or would have made it into this top 20. I think there's a cuss word in it. I'll put it here. I don't remember the exact name of it, but it is a fantastic dupe for Rouge Malachite. I don't need that. I have Rouge Malachite now, and I actually had another dupe of Rouge Malachite. Oh, let me pause and say, even though I have them up for sale on Mercari, the Riiffs dupe, Riiffs, I always spell it wrong, but that's how you spell it, dupe for Rouge Malachite and the dupe for Vert Malachite are dead on, and they last for forever. So those should really be in here, except I'm selling them, so I'm no longer going to talk about them, only because I purchased the originals. But my gosh, are those two fabulous dupes. So anyway, let me go on to the dupes from Julianna's Perfumes. The one that is a dupe for Rouge Malachite is also particularly nice. However, the two that I'm going to share with you here, one is for Gourmand Coquin, and it is Call Me By Your Name. Call Me By Your Name. So this, I would say, is a little bit more dry and slightly dustier than the original Guerlain fragrance. Nonetheless, it is really beautiful in its own right and a really fun fragrance to wear. It's chocolatey and it's sweet and it's vanillic, and I think it's rather romantic of a fragrance and has decent projection and longevity. And if you don't want to shell out the dollars for Gourmand Coquin, because that fragrance is outrageously priced, you might want to consider this one. And similarly, a Fragrance du Bois dupe, we're talking about Santal Complet. This is Amour Santal, which I think smells very close to Santal Complet. Is it an exact dupe? I would say maybe somewhere in the 90-ish range. There's a slight subtle difference. This one is even a bit more masculine, if you will, than the Fragrance du Bois version. But, and I like that. Santal Complet is a gorgeous fragrance, but it has really poor longevity. And for the price tag that it commands, that's just unacceptable to me. I'm going to need a few hours out of a fragrance if you're going to want to charge me, $300 and $400 for a bottle. Yes, that one is showing up on discount now more and more, and I'm inclined to buy it. But I really, in the meantime, do like this Amour Santal. And it has moderate to longer longevity and projection in comparison to Santal Complet. So this is a yes for me. Oh, and if you don't know what this smells like, it's a beautiful sandalwood, very mellow, dry coconut kind of smell. It's nice. This is nice. This is nice. Super sexy, super sexy, super unisex as well. One that my husband can rock. He doesn't wear this. He has his own shelf, but he could rock it if he wants to. And I certainly enjoy wearing this. Okay, so Lattafa has recently put out a line of fragrances that are near duplicates of several Tom Ford fragrances. They have the same bottle shape, the same color, and almost the same name with like a tweak to part of the name. Really bold, really audacious. And I remember looking at those as they first started to come out thinking, oh my gosh, that's really like too much Lattafa. But then I remembered I have one similar. So how dare I criticize the latest batch when I have the beautiful, also from Lattafa, Badi Al Oud. And this is Oud for Glory. Oud for Glory. Hello, direct imitation of Oud for Greatness from Initio. Bottle is very similar, not quite as glamorous as the Oud for Greatness one, but nonetheless really nice. Even a little, gold type of plating on the bottom. I mean, like they went all out. So this fragrance is in the $30-ish range. You definitely have to like a masculine leaning fragrance. I don't care what anybody says about Oud for Greatness being unisex. I mean, in your mind, if you appreciate masculine leaning fragrances just as much as feminine leaning ones, then it's no problem for you to think about something like this as being unisex. But to the regular person out there that isn't drowning in a million fragrances and deep down the fragrance rabbit hole, this is kind of masculine. So you do need to have an appreciation for that. Definitely an oud saffron fragrance. There's lavender. There's some spices in here, nutmeg, if I'm not mistaken. And it's better on skin. It's one of those fragrances, the first blast out, especially if you're not used to these kinds of fragrances, you're like, whoa, what have I just gotten myself into? But it does mellow out and get rather smooth on the skin during the day. It's comforting, and at the same time, I find it to be a little bit edgy and daring, particularly for ladies who are not used to wearing these kinds of fragrances. But if you're interested in Oud for Greatness, this is close enough Oud for Greatness, the original, is a little bit smoother. This is a tiny bit scratchy, particularly in the opening, but close enough in the air that people are not going to really be able to tell the difference. And so for that reason, this is a really fantastic dupe. And a line of fragrances that I don't really see or hear talked about a lot on YouTube at all. In fact, I'm probably one of the only people that picked up this line, and I'm just not sure why that is, because they're really great quality and a fun set of fragrances. It's from Borouj. I had four. I am selling one, the Spiritus one. I think it's called the gray one. That is a dupe for Creed Aventus, which I thought my husband might like. He doesn't love that scent profile. And I've worn it a few times, but it's not one that I would reach for super often. So I have this one. I have, oh my God, there's another one that I forget the name of it. And then I have one of the most beautiful ones, which is the red one, Gravity, which is sugary, wonderful, woody, sweetness, delightful. But this one is the one I want to talk about, Lamasat Oud. It is a dupe for, or we think it's a dupe for, Oud Wood from Tom Ford. So you get all kinds of beautiful woodiness in here. You definitely have to like a masculine leaning fragrance. There's a touch of aromatic something in here, patchouli. And if I didn't know any better, it smells a lot like kitchen spices that you stuff a turkey with, like thyme, maybe sage, and definitely an aromatic wood like cedar. So beautiful fragrance, enjoy wearing it, but you have to be in the mood for a heavy, like male leaning woody fragrance. Really delightful. And by the way, these are some of the nicest dupe bottles on the market. How pretty is that? So then maybe one of my favorite dupe fragrances of all time. And there are several others from this line that I really like, and I'll talk about in a minute. But the one I really want to feature, so the line is called StarGaze Fragrances. They're sold under Strike Gold Shave. So I'll leave that website linked below. And this one is called Aurora, which is a dupe for Angelique Noire. This is not the top that it comes with. I don't know what I did with the top, so I'm using this one for now. So this is the most fabulous dupe for Angelique Noire that I have come across. I have since purchased the actual Angelique Noire from the Guerlain website directly. So that's sitting on the shelf, but I'm not letting go of this because this is also really fantastic and great for, oh my gosh, it's just so pretty. It's great for travel, great for when you're just hanging around the house and want to spray the version of it, maybe without using the real thing. And I think he's got these priced in the 30, maybe $29 to $30, 30 some odd dollar range, 20 something to 30 something range. Fabulous, long lasting, like dead on to Angelique Noire, maybe even with a little more base to it. I will say that I think it's called Rosetta Stone is the Lost Cherry dupe that StarGaze also sells. That is dead on and fantastic. In fact, the owner, his name is Frank, really delightful. He sent me, I think it was like 9 or 10 of his fragrances, maybe more. And I thought that they were all really nice dupes. But this one and Rosetta in particular stand out to me and were memorable. So I wanted to mention those as worthy of checking out. So now we're going to go on to talk about Dua. And then I'm going to end with Be Layered and Alexandria. Alexandria is my favorite dupe house by far. Is it? Or did I just say Al Haramain was? I'm going to stick with Alexandria. But so we know about my relationship with Dua. It's a love-hate relationship because I hate the bottles if you're new to my channel. And if you are returning, then you're sick of me saying that because I've harped on it. I want to talk about 3 fragrances that I think are worth checking out that are in the dupe range. I do have some original Duas or some Dua blends where they've blended they've blended 2 or more popular fragrances. I'm leaving those on the shelf. So these are like pure dupes. The first I'm going to start with is Her Ambition, which is a dupe for BDK's Pas Ce Soir. If you're not familiar with Pas Ce Soir, whoo. And I've added that fragrance to cart quite a lot recently and keep reminding myself that I have this dupe. So I would at least like to use this a little bit more before I go ahead and purchase Pas Ce Soir, or maybe I'll do that as, spring and summer approach here. Beautiful, like the fruitiest, most delicious, sweet fragrance. It has a gorgeous quince note, which is somewhat tart, like not too tart, like a rhubarb note, which I have a hard time with, but it's on the more tart/sour side, maybe just tart. I don't know. I always have a trouble differentiating between tart and sour. Tart. We'll go with tart. We'll go with tart. Okay. How many times did I say tart? And it's sweet and hint of powder and some muskiness. I really love this. I love BDK's Ce Soir. When I tried that, thanks to a friend here on YouTube who sent me a sample, I immediately fell in love with it. And this is a beautiful dupe of it if you don't want to spring for the BDK dollars, or you just, prefer to spend less for whatever reason. Then I would also highly recommend Crater, which is a dupe of Maison Francis Kurkdjian Grand Soir. Grand Soir. Whew. Amber vanilla, deep amber, maybe with some spices. Is it spicy? Little hints of spices in the background, and a big, heaping dose of vanilla, but definitely a resinous, ambery fragrance appropriate for special occasions or for those really cold nights when you want that fragrance that's going to warm you up. This is the one. Yeah, really a good fragrance. So, and unisex leaning masculine. And then a discontinued fragrance that Dua has duped that I think is absolutely worth checking out. It's a dupe for Tom Ford's Sahara Noir, and this is called Night in the Desert. Night in the Desert. Oh man. Oh man. I guess if you want to conjure up the image of yourself in, a tent in the evening in the Saharan desert outside of Morocco or something like that, here's as close as you're going to get without actually traveling there, at least the image of it. It has all of those beautiful spices in it. It's definitely like deeply resinous and balsamic and has incense in it. So it has like this bit of like a spicy smokiness almost, but the smoky part is very subdued. I enjoy this. I have to wear it sparingly because it's a strong fragrance that as you put it on, it can be a very overpowering smell if you let it. So I would advise spraying lightly on this one. But if you're interested in that scent profile, or you've always been curious about Sahara Noir from Tom Ford that is discontinued, yeah, this is the one to hunt down. Oh my God, I almost forgot. One of the nicest duos that I have, shame on me. This is the only side effect dupe that I kept, and it's called Collateral Damage. Side effect from Initio. If you're not familiar with Initio side effect, you're looking at cinnamon, booze, tobacco, vanilla, and just absolute intoxicating sexiness. So a heavy fragrance. Well, some people perceive side effect to be lighter than like Oud for Greatness, for example. I think side effect is a pretty serious, substantial fragrance. Anyway, this is a good dupe if you are in the town. If you are in the market for a side effect dupe, Collateral Damage will scratch the itch for sure. Okay, then we move on to, I'm going to do, let's see, one from Be Layered. So First Kiss Exclusive, which of course is a dupe for Parfums de Marly Delina Exclusive. So if you're familiar with Delina, and you've never tried the Exclusive, it's like a toned down version, a little bit more powdery, and definitely amped up on the rose, and not like the tart aspects of Delina. I think Delina's nice, but it's not for me. There's that rhubarb thing in there, doesn't do it for me. This one here, gosh, so beautiful and powdery, and really a bomb of a fragrance, a really nice, fresh, beautiful, but sophisticated rose fragrance. If you don't want to spring for Delina Exclusive, this is a fantastic alternative. By far, the dupe house that I still have the most fragrances from is Alexandria Fragrances. I've rarely been disappointed, maybe one that just didn't shine the greatest. And to be honest with you, I don't even remember what that is because it's long gone. So let me get into 6 fragrances from Alexandria that I really think are worth checking out. There's more. I could have probably included 12, but for the sake of longevity, because I see this video is getting super long, let's just focus on the 6. This is Kiss Don't Be Shy, which is unapologetically a dupe for Love Don't Be Shy. You get that beautiful marshmallow with citrusy aspects, that orange blossom kind of beautiful, citrus floral thing happening, really light and airy. But this version is, I would say, more dense than Love Don't Be Shy. Otherwise, a pretty dead on dupe and super long lasting, a lot of fun to wear. So then another Tom Ford dupe is Fatale de Vanille, which is a dupe of Vanille Fatale. Ooh, this one is really, really good. I enjoy wearing this a lot. I have to stop myself from reaching for this. Think of your spicy, boozy vanilla. I would say more deeply into the vanilla and spicy territory than anything else, but definitely a little hint of booze. And if you concentrate on it, there's an aspect of maybe woodiness and leatheriness in here as well. But by and large, a spicy vanilla that's really fantastic for the deepest parts of winter. And like I said before about what fragrance was that I was talking about? I don't remember, but the fall and winter, like into, oh, Tobacco Vanille. Hello, the sort of cousin to this. The fall into winter holidays, this one is fantastic for. I do want to hunt down, I don't need to hunt it down. In fact, I'm just going to wait for the Sephora sale and probably grab it then, the original, because I want the original. I do have some Tom Fords that I really, really enjoy, but this is a fantastic dupe. Then for the summer months, y'all, if you like Creed's Virgin Island Water, you have got to, and you want a dupe or something less expensive, check out Hawaii Volcano. Now, there's an intense version of this as well, but this one does me just fine. You're talking about, this is lime and coconut, period, plain and simple. Beach in a bottle, yacht party in a bottle, all kinds of summer happiness and sunshine. You know, there you go. Period. End of story. Fantastic, long lasting. Virgin Island Water, I had a travel spray of, and it was lovely, but it didn't last super long. This one really will take you through the day. If you're interested in Le Labo Santal 33, here you go. Santal's Kiss, also from Alexandria, dead on dupe for that beautiful sandalwood fragrance that just kind of takes over a space. If you've ever smelled Santal 33, it is like that deeply woody sandalwood thing. Some people think Santal 33 smells like pickle juice. I don't get the pickle juice. Thank you, Jesus. I just get beautiful sandalwood. And so this is a really lovely dupe, long lasting. The Le Labo fragrances. It's late and I'm tired. And y'all haven't heard the owl, have you? That makes me sad. But it sounds like this. Woo! There you go. Now you've heard the owl. What was I going to say? This fragrance is really long lasting and I don't smell pickles. I think this is a fantastic one. By the way, if you want something similar and you don't even want to dupe, try Cremo's Palo Santo. Almost identical to this, even smoother. I really, really love that fragrance. And I talked about it in my affordable fragrances that smell expensive video. So then, a fragrance that's difficult to describe because it really is unique, but I have some associations with it that might be helpful for you. This is China Affair, and it's a dupe for Chanel's Coromandel. So that fragrance, Coromandel, is known for its patchouli. It's known for having a white chocolate note. It's also resinous and ambery. Here's what I love about this fragrance. There's something about this that gives me 80s fragrance glam, like somewhere in the neighborhood of when women wore heavy Shalimar, Opium, Obsession, all of those powerhouse 80s fragrances where they had a strong amber. There were some strong sort of animalic notes that weren't like, you know, they didn't scare you. They were just blended so lovely. They were just blended so fantastically into the entire composition that the woman just smelled regal. So imagine after a long day of a woman wearing one of those really strong powerhouse 80s amber fragrances, at the end of the day, her skin, her clothing, her hair, her coat, sometimes even her purse smelled like that beautiful, gorgeous perfume, like the phantom of the perfume, but it was still strong. That's what this reminds me of, with that nice hint of very smooth patchouli. It's not that like earthy, dirty, you know, like that wet dirt kind of chocolate patchouli smell. It's something super smooth and lovely. So what a lovely dupe. Would I like to have Coromandel someday? Sure. But in the meantime, well, that's how I feel about all of these dupes. Would I like the original at some point? Probably. But if you add up the total of the 20 fragrances that I have shown you, let's do the math. Okay, and then if I average about $250 for a full bottle of the original, hang on, because I know what you're gonna say. Hang on. Then we're talking about $5,000 for the originals. So 700 versus 5,000. You know, you figure that out. So here's what people are gonna say. Well, first of all, of course, you know, you're not getting the original bottle. People complain about the quality of dupes, and I have not really had any problems with the quality of the ones that I have shown you. And people will argue, well, this is 1 ounce. You can't really compare a 1 ounce fragrance to a 100 ounce bottle. Fair enough. However, even with this, you're talking about when you get it on sale, like wait for these houses to have sales. If you're going to buy dupes, there's no need to pay the full price for this. And the full price isn't bad. I'd say it's in the 30 some odd dollar range with a 30% off or 20% off sale that lowers it significantly, right? But even at the full price, if you times this out to a full bottle, then you're talking about $90 for this versus several $100s for something else. So, I mean, it's really up to you. I'm not advocating one way or the other. If you want to save money, or if you're just not interested in spending those big dollars for fragrance, it's just not justifiable to you, even if you have the money, try something like this. If you have the money or really prefer to have the original, that's totally fine too. Get the originals. There's nothing wrong either way. Like, let's not judge each other for that, right? It's just a matter of your own personal taste and preference. My favorite dupe, by far, in my collection. So much a favorite that I'm hunting down, speaking of original bottles, an original bottle of this, but I need it to be at a certain price because it's just like this thing I have, this mental block I have about paying full price for fragrances. Not that I haven't done it, but I do it rarely. Apple Crumb, which is a dupe for Eau Jean from Parfums de Marly. Not everyone loves this. I've had some people say to me that it just didn't do it for them. Fine, it does it for me. This is very much in the neighborhood of Angel's Share from Kilian, also in the neighborhood of Caltat Night by Attar Collection, and that whole sort of neighborhood. Oud Honey, Oud. Do you say oud or oud? Honey from Santal, that sort of neighborhood of fragrances that are sort of in the spicy, like deep, cooked, steamy apple pie direction. Amber de Alexandra from Boucheron, that neighborhood. This one leans a little bit more to the unisex and masculine direction, I would say. But man, is this a good, gorgeous, almost like a cooked fruit, like stewed cooked fruit that's gotten really deeply sweet with beautiful spices, heavy cinnamon. I just adore this. I adore this. Again, a beautiful fall time fragrance, smells like a fall dessert, and I'm gonna need that full bottle. So my friends, that is my pick from my collection that currently sits on my shelves, my top 20 dupe fragrances. Again, with a quick scan, I've likely missed something really nice that probably belongs in here, but that's where you can help me. Drop in the comments your favorite dupes so that our friends can benefit from it and have a choice. Remember, people that are coming to these videos are all along the spectrum. We have new fragrance friends here that literally just got to YouTube today to look up where to start with fragrances and really are not sure what's out there and it's overwhelming to them. And we have fragrance friends who've been here for decades and they know the entire spectrum of fragrances. They have entire sort of libraries in their mind of fragrances and notes and accords and the history behind houses and all of that and everything in between. And all are welcome here on this channel and hope they find a home here. So let's help each other out in the comments. Thanks so much. If you stayed this long, I appreciate you. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care, my friends.